The number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft goes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Was the NBA draft rigged for the Dallas Mavericks? A lot of people seem to think so since the Mavs lucked out with the ping pong balls. Today we'll look at why it's probably not rigged, but how if it is, there might be a lot of unintended consequences for some publicly traded companies. If you're new to the channel, we do a bunch of data-driven stories, and if that sounds interesting, consider subscribing. Okay, starting off and playing devil's advocate, why might it be rigged? Earlier this year, the Mavs made one of the most consequential and potentially dumbest trades in NBA history. They traded one of the biggest superstars who was only 26 and arguably just at the start of his prime. Looking at some of the other players that Luka is often compared against, their primes start at around the same time and barring injury, last for about 5 to 10 years of very strong play. Or I guess in the case of LeBron, 15 years.
This again? Didn't we do this last year?
The Mavs' main argument and reason was that defense wins championships and that Luka couldn't stop drinking sweet tea and was fat. The trade was so lopsided that at the time, they thought the GM, Nico, was maybe getting bribed by Nike. Main reason being that he previously worked there, and since Luka is under the Jordan brand, LA is a bigger market, meaning more sales. So that's the background. Going into the draft, they only had a 1.8% chance of winning, about 1 in 56 odds. Despite these odds though, they got there and won that first pick. So they traded Luka and they got the first pick, which is probably going to be Flagg. The idea being that he's one of the best prospects in recent years, with a ceiling compared to Tatum, Pippen, or Kawhi. Even the floor comparisons are pretty good of Odom and Andrei Kirilenko, AK-47, who both had solid runs. Okay, so this whole sequence of events feels pretty shady. Why is it not collusion? First off is the math. A low probability doesn't mean that it's impossible. There's a lot of events that happen with about the same odds all the time. For this, let's go to Vegas. If you've ever been in a casino, one of the most popular games is roulette. There's 36 numbers and either 1 or 2 zeros. You spin a wheel and drop a ball. The chance of you picking a number and it hitting is about 2.6%, not likely, but it happens. And even within roulette, crazier things have happened. Back in 1913 in Monte Carlo, a roulette wheel landed on black 26 times in a row. Since it was a European wheel, it was a 1 in 137 million chance of this happening. Heading over to a game that I actually play, let's switch over to poker, Texas Hold'em. Let's say we're starting with a fair deck and you're being dealt 2 cards. Some of the better hands you can be dealt are going to be pocket pairs, so 2 of the same cards. Even better if they're face cards. In a 6-hour session, you're probably going to run into pocket pairs at least a few times, whether you have them or someone else. Pocket jacks, pocket queens, pocket kings, and pocket aces. Whether you play or watch poker, these hands do happen. Sometimes even against each other, and often when you lose the most money. Okay, so what are the odds of you getting one of these pocket pairs? Feel free to pause, but given the math, it's about 1 every 55 hands, so about 1.8%. So the chance of the Mavs winning the first round pick is the same as you being dealt a good hand. The other argument is the process of the draft itself. A lot of people think the NBA just decides who gets what, and it's pretty far from that. First off, all the teams have reps in the same room, and the other teams also have owners who have spent billions on these teams and don't want to get screwed. You're the competing teams, they can see everything, and the process is filmed. There's 14 balls numbered 1 to 14 that go into Smart Play Lottery Hopper. Everyone can see what's going on, there's nothing going on behind the scenes, there's no magic tricks here. They get mixed for 20 seconds and then drawn by the machine. It's 4 balls and the order doesn't matter, and they check it against the master list. Okay, so how do we know the list itself isn't rigged and there's something going on with the balls? I think it'd be pretty hard to do. The NBA is one of the clients of Ernst & Young, which is one of the big 4 accounting firms. If you're not familiar with public accounting, it's less bookkeeping and more assurance, so audit and tax. They basically audit the process to make sure that it's reasonably fair. In the case of the NBA, they're the ones building the master combo list, which is then distributed to all the teams. The only way they could cheat it is if they control the list, which they do, and they could also somehow control the balls. If that did happen though, and they were complicit in this, then there's bigger problems. Main reason being that in the US, they also audit a lot of other big companies, such as Walmart, since 1969. Another one of their big clients is Amazon, who they've been working with since 1996. Doing a deeper dive, the client list is pretty absurd. They're also the auditors on record for Apple, Alphabet, so Google, Oracle, Coca-Cola, and Netflix. Within tech, they have 4 of the FANG companies and 3 of the mamas. To be fair, the audit practices, so the teams are different. The New York team does the NBA and the tech ones are in the Bay Area, but still, there's a big reputational risk. Factor in that this isn't a startup or a coffee company from China, it's one of the biggest brands in the world. The whiff of fraud here could cause irreparable harm. The NBA isn't a company that's worth only a few billion, it's worth 140 billion. The audit fees for that are probably going to be pretty good. I don't know how much you need to pay the partner to take that risk rather than take the long-term guaranteed thing. If you compare the whole US partnership, there's even more at risk, especially if it ends up like an Arthur Andersen situation. So Apple's not worth 140 billion, it's worth 3 trillion. Amazon comes in at 2 trillion, and Alphabet's in the same range as well. I'm not saying that they couldn't have rigged the ping pong balls, but it feels like a lot of risk given that they have a good deal going on. Speaking of ping pong balls and good deals, consider today's sponsor, Moomoo. They're currently offering up to 60 free stocks and 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. It's a pretty interesting offer. You're going to get 5 free stocks for depositing 200, an extra 20 for depositing a total of 2,000, and an extra 35 for depositing a total of 5,000. Looking at the terms, it's total net deposit, so 5,000 to unlock all 60. Most of these will be in the $2 to $9.99 range, but some can be higher. Outside of the bonus, there are a lot of cool features. You gain access to dozens of news platforms that would otherwise charge you a monthly subscription like Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Bloomberg, and Reuters. If you like baseball, then you're in luck. They're an official partner for the New York Mets. You get free tickets to Monday games at Citi Field for Section 126. It's a cool perk if you're in or you're visiting New York. You do have to have a funded account to qualify and claim tickets, and it's first come, first serve. This current promotion ends June 3rd, 2025. If you're interested, check out AskSabby.com/Moomoo or use the link down below. Try it out and let me know what you think. Okay, just for fun, let's say it is rigged and they want to get Cooper Flagg to the best team for ratings. The idea being that he's the next superstar and they want him in a big market. If you look at the top 3 teams with the best odds of winning, they were smaller NBA markets. At the same time though, Dallas isn't the biggest, there are bigger opportunities. The top 5 for NBA viewership are New York, LA, Chicago, Dallas, and then Philly. New York at 7.5 mil compared to Dallas at 3.3, so about 2.5 times as much. With that, you had better and more believable odds. Philly is still pretty good, and that's 10.5%, and then Brooklyn is 9%. If the argument is that the NBA cheated for the bigger opportunity for a big market, then they should have sent him to the Nets. Not only does New York have more people that are interested in basketball, but probably more super fans. This is the scene out of MSG after the Knicks made the Eastern Conference Finals, so not even the NBA Finals. Also consider that salaries in New York are higher, and people there have more spending power. So for example, if you made $100K in Dallas, you need to make $156K in Brooklyn to have the same standard of living. The NBA doesn't change jersey cost by location, they're charging the same thing. Also, this is before considering international fans and big markets like China. Speaking of which, one of the co-founders of Alibaba owns the Nets. If the goal was moving Flagg to a team that makes the most money, it feels like the Nets would be the move. The flip side of the coin is that this has nothing to do with Flagg and more as compensation to get Luka moved. The case that they want Luka at a big market like the Lakers, and that makes them more money. And to be fair, this could make sense since TV and streaming deals drive the majority of the revenue that actually matters. Team owners are incentivized for views because they share revenue, and that moves the needle. The problem with this is risk and reward, you're jeopardizing the entire product. If the NBA itself is rigged through this draft, then what about games? And if the NBA becomes WWE, the product becomes a lot less valuable. Factor in how much money is probably coming through gambling now, and I can't imagine this weird agreement being worth the risk. Is it possible that all the owners agree to do this and collude? Yes, but it doesn't seem likely. Even if you do believe the NBA is a cabal of owners trying to maximize money and profits by any means possible, the entire situation and strategy doesn't really make sense. The most popular team in the world are the Lakers, and when the Lakers do well, the NBA does well. Especially in China and Asia, where Kobe was seen as the #1 player, and by default, Lakers were their favorite team. If the NBA was purely focused on maximizing revenue, then why even do this whole agreement? Why not just keep Anthony Davis? If the argument is that Nico lost the plot and was insane and was going for draft picks, then he could still do that. You can make a deal work. So for example, filler, Reeves as the main package, and then a bunch of picks. Defense wins championships, and we've seen crazier trades with that thesis. Alternatively, Luka could have just forced his way to LA or waited for his contract to finish. He was a free agent in 2026 anyways with an option, and 1 extra year this playoffs didn't really mean anything. Occam's razor, either Dallas got lucky and got dealt a nice hand, so 1.8% chance, the same as them winning the first pick, or all the NBA owners colluded in order to maximize revenue, get Luka moved to the Lakers, Flagg to Dallas, and convince one of the big 4 accounting firms to basically risk their entire reputation and a ton of other money elsewhere in order to make this work. Maybe I'm crazy, but I play enough poker to see this often enough that it doesn't feel that weird. It's lucky, it's unlikely, but it happens. If you want to see if you're going to get lucky with Moomoo, then check out the link down below. Again, up to 60 free stocks for depositing $5,000 for 60 days, and the current promo ends June 3rd, 2025. If you're interested, check out asksebi.com/Moomoo or link down below. If you made it to this point, leave a basketball emoji in the comments down below and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions: who do you think is going to win the finals? What about the MVP? And third one is, if there is collusion or fraud, do you think viewership would go down? So if this was the WWE instead of the NBA, would that change things? Big favorite thumbs up. If you're new, consider subscribing. But otherwise, hope you liked it. See you next time.